welcome to our second LinkedIn Live. And today I've invited Nienke van Bezooyen, one of my co-founders here at the Indigo Elephant, to speak about the topic of heart-driven and mind-centered companies. So we look together with Nienke what's the difference, and today we will really take you could say, the real spectrum or the broad spectrum or the extreme mind-centered companies and the extremely heart-driven companies to really understand it. If you work in this type of companies, you will definitely see if you're heading more towards a mind-centered company or a heart-driven company. We also have a third founder, which is not here today, which is Elsbeth Van Lienden. She will be here next week, so you will see our full team here every Thursday. So Nienke, welcome here today. From your perspective, and you had your own companies, you have worked for soul-driven companies, heart-centered companies, so you have seen the whole spectrum during your long career. From your perspective, if you just start with an ideal or maybe the most extreme heart-centered companies, what have you seen?
Well, what I see in still an organization I'm collaborating with, what's completely heart-driven, is called the Heart Ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And the Heart Ambassadors is founded by Chef Akar, and they do everything with a heart. Mm-hmm. So we start with heart-centered, collective heart centering, let's say that way. We work with all things, we are brutally lovingly honest. We do true care, we do genuine love, and we feed the field what the world needs, everything from the heart. We do a lot for charity, foundations, for everywhere. Because everybody who's joining the Heart Ambassadors comes because they live from their heart. So that's in the spectrum, extremely heart-driven and... Still, there is one thing I would say, it isn't completely on the end of the spectrum, because what I also can see, the founder principles are coming from the heart, but it's still top-down and not a collective exchange. The exchanging from the heart is there every time we meet, and it's 5 days a week. So it isn't like a fluffy thing. It's 5 days a week we meet, and we are really connected in the heart, and the founder principles. The founder's soul in there is dominant. So no problem, just a fact.
Yeah. Would you say that even if you take it to the next level, heart center is maybe already something to aim for, but ideally there's even a deeper level where it's truly a soul-led company? Is this, if it's maybe not better, but is this deeper?
Collective souls. Of course there's a soul of the company and what's their soul driven from the company, and maybe the representative is the owner, the founder of the company. That's fine. And the exchange and listening to the undercurrent, that's not there. So there is another step. If we want to go in the next direction, but if there's no desire, and then this can just go on and just be perfect heart-led company. Yeah. Totally fine. So, that's what I see.
There was an initial word you used, I think, in your first sentence that, not triggered me, but that caught my attention. And it was, we do this. Is it really a doing thing or is it just a being thing?
It's a being and doing. We can't do without a being. So because we come from the heart, we have to be from our heart. And then we can act in our doing in feeding the field with what is necessary. So that's acting from being.
Okay, so it's really with the intention coming from the heart, coming from that place. Yeah. All right. Well, I will take you maybe just to the other side of the company.
Do you have other examples? Because you've been mentoring so many, and even you've been in corporate life for a long time, really driven from ego in mind, isn't it? Can you explain a bit more about that part of the spectrum?
Yeah, well, I've seen the different type of organizations, really large corporates, even the Big Four. I've been part of that ecosystem or circus, if you want.
Ecosystem.
Ecosystems, yeah. I also have been part of scale-ups and startups that were really young companies, but really really created from a deep desire from the founders. And then I went through a number of incorporations myself, where I created companies, and I've definitely seen a shift in myself, and I will take from my personal case it maybe to these large corporates. And the first transition I made for myself, I think over the last couple of years, I used to have a company called Mind Transformers, and you already hear it, the word mind. And of course, I was a very big fan, or maybe an ambassador of Bob Proctor, being one of the gurus, or at least one of the leadership coaches. That said, and I think to a large extent, there's a lot of truth in there. You can create anything from the mind. If you can have it in your mind, you can have it in your hand. That was one of Bob's quotes. And, well, I experienced this. If you have that vision and you feel it, you definitely can create it. But I came, after a couple of years, to the insight that, for me at least, I was missing something. I was missing, at a certain point, meaning. It gave a lot of fulfillment, maybe from a financial perspective. I was successful from an outside perspective, but at least from a personal perspective, there was a kind of emptiness, which I later understood was my soul actually aching for meaning, for really bringing something to the world that was bigger than me, larger than the financial part. And from that perspective, I really like an insight shared with one of our speakers on our next Indigo Summit on September 17th. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. She's saying, well, when a company is only or mostly about the financial part, about the money, it is probably missing or losing its soul. And I think there's a lot of truth to this. And from that perspective, I observed in my own ascension path, or whatever you call it, definitely a shift to create companies that were really designed from the soul. But it requires a deep internal process to connect through the heart to the soul and really feeling what is it here that I want to contribute, what is the legacy I want to leave. And that's, for me, was a completely different level to come from. Designing or creating a company which was soul first rather than mind first or ego first or financially first is definitely a company that not only is, you could say, creating from a different perspective, but is also giving meaning from a different perspective. And the thing is, if you create that meaning, or if you attach that meaning to external things like money, you always need more to stay satisfied. And at a certain point, well, I put the next goal, and even it didn't bring me the joy at a certain point. But when I see now with the Indigo Elephant and even the Business and Soul Institute, I create as a sort of intermediary path to this. When you design from the soul, it's when you grow what is counting. If you can grow as a person, I think that's a way more interesting perspective to start from. And also, are you adding value to somebody else's life rather than only your financial part? And overall, in this transition over the last 2 years, I think there's definitely, well, the finance need to be there. Of course, if there is no profit made, you cannot keep your company going. But from an internal rewarding system, I think it's definitely a different game. And that's my personal story, you could say, as a transformation boutique, or whatever you want to call it. And what I've seen then at startups, and I used to work for Showpad for like 3 years, and it's now seven or 8 years ago. Initially, when this company was created, these two young founders, they really wanted to change the world with a lot of energy and a lot of enthusiasm. And the more it became about, well, we have to do another money round. We have investors now in the United States, and we have another round. We saw definitely a shift from being really there for the customers from a prime perspective to really, what do the investors want? What does the board want? And I really felt an organization that shifted away from its initial soul to a company that was driven by the numbers. And at a certain point, I felt it was not resonating anymore, because I really joined a soul-driven company, but at a certain point, it felt really too financial, and I left. I learned a lot, but at that moment, it didn't resonate with me anymore. Then, if I look at the really big fours I worked for, there were amazing ecosystems really to learn, but in the end, you feel there's a lot of hierarchy, there's a lot of control, there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of politics. And in the end, well, if you want to play in that game, it's well, you can enjoy it and certainly you can learn a lot. But here as well, I felt, well, this is not the type of company I want to be part of, because it's definitely the prime reason was money. And if this is the prime reason for creating a company, I think that's it doesn't resonate with me as a person. And that's why I felt there's definitely a very big difference between companies created from the mind, from the ego, versus companies which are created from the heart and the soul. So at least the perspective that I observed.
Well, I have another angle to add to this, because if you speak here about heart centers, a lot of people will think about healthcare.
Yeah.
Because people care. But if you take healthcare, as happened here in the Netherlands, to the market system, you will see that the owners of private organizations in healthcare are mainly money driven, not care driven. And they think they can buy care, but there is no heart and soul in the organization, and they just drain the money out of the people who need care, and tapping into the source of scarcity, of fear of being alone, a fear of being older in life without care, but then you can buy it and then you will feel safe. And then they think the people we just hire to give the care will fix it all, but it is blurred by the money system. And you see a lot of really ugly things happening. But even the governmental healthcare system is KPI, fear, mistake, needs, punishments driven organization, where the fear is sneaking in, and the true care, the love for helping people in need, not from overcare but from care. Overcare is something that drains. Care is something what gives you energy. Just measure that one, whatever you care about something. If you start mental brooding or emotional brooding about things, it's most of the time overcare. Genuine care gives energy. Because you just contribute, and that's the contribution part, what we see within the Indigo Elephant. If you can contribute from your soul, and you just are a contribution with your unique talent, then it fuels everything. If it comes from overcare, if I don't do that, something will happen, or something that, it's all this tension behind. That's the mind, and it is in conflict, inner conflict, with the soul driven for true care. So even healthcare, people who work there do have a true heart-centered contribution, but the system facilitating that any longer. So just to measure in whatever you do, and even you mention it, if you feel it starts draining you, you're drifting away from the heart. And so I think that's the core message I really want to give.
I'm just wondering today if you're not only talking about observing, and it's easy to, from the side, giving your comment on what's not working, but if you would happen to become the Minister of Care, if that exists, or healthcare in Holland, what would be your foundational principles that you would put underneath the system? That's probably a big question, Nienke.
I like to be the bolder one. Yeah, so the true care needs to be replaced for the fear. Because what do we love enough to make a big shift? So I love healthcare enough to stand up and make a big shift. So it isn't about health, but about value of living. And even if life is ending, there is value for living. But just have the dignity restored, integrity restored, and the true care be restored. Financially, but that starts from within. But the system needs to flip around and, come on, bring it on, baby. I will be there just to make it work.
This is an invitation there for politicians to hire you as a heart coach.
Well, for sure. Because I truly believe if we bring the true heart and the true care into everything we do, connected with our soul, we can fulfill just the well-being of everybody.
Well, maybe as a conclusion, because I'm seeing already we are speaking like 15 minutes and we had the ambition to be sharp, to have like LinkedIn lives of 15 minutes. Let's maybe conclude with this idea that if we are able to contribute with the Indigo Elephant, and maybe others that feel what we share here today is resonating with them, is that we build soul-first societies, and from there have maybe the right politicians that can help designing the systems. But on the other hand, we are also willing to stand up to change organizations from inside up and actually create both from the bottom up and top down.
Exactly. Let's merge the soul and the purpose for it all, for the bigger all, be one, and make things shift. We can't do it alone. We just love to have like hearted with us. So join us. Just look at the website of the Indigo Elephant, see what resonates. Dare to step up, contact us. We love to see you and have a conversation.
Thank you. And if you feel definitely you want to experiment with your heart and with heart coherence, Nienke is your facilitator on Monday afternoons at 4 p.m. here in Brussels time or Amsterdam time. Nienke is keeping her Indigo heart activation. So if you want to be part of that, just go to our website and register for that. So it's a treat for yourself and for your family.
It's free. Just free your time.
And it's free. All right. Nienke, thank you very much. Bye-bye.